Are we?
Somebody's rumbling down there, right? No? Nope.
Not that I hear.
All right,
I could be mistaken.
then
Do we have a quorum with three?
well, we do it the three.
Okay.
Jim was supposed to attend, but he's not here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna call a meeting to order if we can. I got 7:01.
Yep.
So Sarah or Ryan's gonna take care of our what would you say, our clerical stuff tonight?
Hmm.
Sarah is absent, and her husband had COVID. She doesn't have any signs, but she said, just as soon not, if I don't have to be there, I won't go, but she was negative, so we said, fine, we can handle it. So Ryan's gonna handle her clerical, things. So if we could have you, Ryan, do the roll call, that'd be fine.
We'll do chair. Bont, absent. Bauk,
Present.
Crawford, is absent,
Excused.
excused. Hunriser,
Missing in action.
absent, was planned on being here as an alternate member. McPolin,
Here.
who just for the record was appointed by the city council to be a regular sitting member of the ZBA now. And Chair Kabadjak.
Here,
All right.
present.
Chair, you have one.
Okay. All right, thank you for roll call. Let's see, that moves us on to item number 2 on our agenda, which is approval of the agenda. Are there, I think, Jim, you had one thing you mentioned about prior to the meeting, you might wanted to add to the agenda.
I'll bring it up during ZBA comments on item 8, if that's okay.
Okay, you just do it on comments, okay. Other than that, I checked with Ryan on the other, I don't have anything to add to you, Kate. As
I
far as agenda changes or, so, as far as the agenda as presented for the January 12th, 2023 meeting, if no changes, all those in favor of keeping it the same, please signify by saying aye.
We have a
Aye.
motion, Mr. Chair, and a second.
I move that we approve the
Make a
minutes. as
motion to
posted.
approve it, sorry.
Support.
All right, thank you.
Sorry about that. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. 3 ayes. Approve the agenda. Next item is item number 3, which is approval of the minutes from the November 10th, 2022 regular meeting. That was a rather extensive meeting. We have included in our packet a copy of those minutes. There were two applications. My memory is 640 and 650 Water Street and 5 something Butler.
25 bucks.
25 Butler. And we have submitted and at least as a board of review, submitted our findings. We went through the minutes that way. I don't know if anyone has any other changes than what have been changed to or addressed for those issues. If you do, let us know. We can amend them here at this time. If you don't, we would ask for a motion to approve the minutes from the November 10th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the minutes from the
November 10th?
November 10th meeting, excuse me, be approved as presented.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and a support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Passes with 3. Okay. The minutes from the prior meeting has been approved. At that time, we'll move into any public comments. Public comments at this point in time can be anything on the agenda or related. Anyone want to make any comments or anything at this time? Anyone raising their hand online, I guess, would be the next question.
Not at this time, unless Mr. Dewey has some comments, not raising his hand virtually, so.
Okay. All right, so No present, no online, so we'll move along. On item number 5, which is unfinished business. And we have no unfinished business, so that was pretty easy to get through. And number 6 is new business, which item A is election of officers for the 2023 calendar year. And so we have 3 of us here tonight. And I guess the officers are chair and vice chair to be either continued or changed or discussed. So I look at the board members I don't have a problem staying on as chair, but if you want to nominate someone else, that's fine with me.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move to nominate you as the chairman for 2023.
Support.
The upcoming year.
Sorry, Bob.
It's all right. Yeah. Okay, do we vote on that? And then if we went for vice chair, do we go to the second one? I think you do, right? We do one at a time? Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably clean
So
up.
since we have a motion and a second, why don't you just do a roll call, I guess, for that?
All right. Bauk,
Yes,
Poland,
Yes,
and Kabadjak.
Oh, yes,
All right.
thank you.
you're welcome. We have to be,
Bylaws require that you have a majority of the ZBA approve that, so you had, or at least.
so we have to have an all,
Quorum.
yeah,
So
unanimous.
you had the majority there.
Yeah, we're unanimous anyway, right?
is
Okay.
it a majority of the ZBA or a majority of the members present?
The majority of the zoning board of appeals.
Okay,
Yeah.
Which is 3 out of the 5.
3 out of 5.
Major, yeah, so anyway. So we have to be unanimous tonight
Right.
for anything we do tonight, so.
Okay.
Okay, and then on the vice chair, Dick's been a vice chair, Dick Bont for a long time. We can keep Dick. Dick is gone quite regularly, in Port Vallarta 4 to 5 months a year.
Mhm.
I was gonna say, I hadn't talked to Dick, doesn't matter, but I was going to suggest that whether or not there's an interest in maybe Jim Bout stepping into that position for this year and see how it works because of his absence. And sometimes I'm going to be gone next month. If we have a meeting, it happens. We don't have a chair or a vice chair.
Right.
Of
well,
course, you could be gone too, so it doesn't matter, but yeah. Would you have
I'd be willing to accept.
Excellent.
then I'd be willing to make a motion to nominate you for vice chair of the zoning board of appeals for the 2023 calendar year,
Support.
Jim Bout. And we have support from Kate McPolin. And we'll let our clerk catch up here.
All caught up?
Caught up?
Yep.
So we can go for a roll call, since we have a motion and a second.
All right. McPolin,
Yes.
Bauk,
Yes,
and Chair Kabadjak.
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
Awesome.
Congratulations, Mr. Bauk.
oh, thank you.
But no, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, no, I meant no. Thank you.
I see. Okay, second item on new business is 233 Lucy, a front yard setback. We have a public hearing on this. And what we would like to do at this time with our public hearing, I would like to call it to order. And then call the hearing to order, public hearing, and also ask for a summary by our zoning administrator of the application.
Thank you, Mr.
Brian, if you do
Chair.
that.
The applicant, John Mayer, who is here tonight, I believe with his architect on the project as well, requests a dimensional variance to demolish and reconstruct a front porch on the existing dwelling within the required front setback. The dimensional variance would reduce the front setback to 5 feet and 3 inches instead of the minimum 20-foot setback, which is a reduction of 14 feet and 9 inches. The property is located in your community residential districts. The lot is approximately 66 feet wide and 132 feet deep. And it's a single family detached dwelling that exists on the site. The structure includes a 140 square foot porch, which currently has a 2 foot front setback. The facade of the dwelling is 10 feet from the front property line. The porch and front portion of the dwelling do not conform to the applicable 20-foot front setback. Report lays out the standards for you to go through. I also provided a copy of the ZBA decision form to help guide you through your discussion this evening. Unless there are any questions, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. So at that time, I would like to ask if the applicant is present, would like to make any type of a presentation or comments or give us,
Other than, this is part of.
can I ask you, John, to maybe step up?
All right, my name's John Meyer. I live at 233 Lucy Street. This is part of a remodel of the entire first floor of the house and the removal of a small addition that was placed on the front elevation at some point, probably 60 years ago, which separates the original elevation of the house and the current front porch. We're removing that room and we're putting the front porch back against the original elevation of the front of the house. So in theory, I suppose, because of the location, the positioning of the house on the property, the west and the north buildable lot lines are almost up against the house. So I suppose if I move the TV from one part of the living room to the other, I should come and get a variance because it's in the buildable lot line. But this project was already approved at the Historic Commission in, what was it, October, September. So it'll require demolition and removal of the existing porch and then reestablishing a porch approximately 3 feet further in from the current porch. So it'll be less non-conforming, but still non-conforming.
All right. Well, you've provided some pretty good drawings and elevations and plans. I think there was, Ryan, there was a survey included with what you had, and not in our packet so much as an actual survey as built or anything.
Yeah, correct, Mr. Chair. As part of the zoning permit application, the applicant did submit a survey, which lined up with the drawings that they provided you.
Okay, all right, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that the drawings were in line with the survey. So, John, if we have any other questions, we will come back to you. If that's all you have, that'd be fine. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll go into the public comments and what I'd like to do is if there's anyone in the audience that would like to make any comments, let's say for or against, either way on the application, at this time, this would be your opportunity to make any comments. Okay. Ryan, how about on Zoom? Anybody wanting to make any comments on Zoom?
Nobody's virtually raised their hand, Mr. Chair, but we have received a little bit of correspondence.
We do have correspondence, yeah. Okay, so no one in the audience at this time, no one on the online matter. We had submitted in our packet a couple of comments. We had was there 2 yeses? I think there was 1 no. There's a Daniel Prince. Is 233 Lucy Street. Said that I recommend against the 5'3" setback. The variance would interfere with the neighbor's view, and why would anyone want to sit on a porch that is almost on the street? It would also possibly preclude a future sidewalk. Judith Prince That was a not in favor of. And then, let's see. On the subject again of 233 Lucy Street is a John Sarino, Saurino. I am writing in support of the requested variance for the front porch on 233 Lucy Street. I own the property directly behind the applicant's property and appreciate the improvements that have been done so far. I think the city needs to recognize that allow variances such as this for the single family property owners is the best way to ensure the historical properties can continue to be invested in, which positively impacts the entire neighborhood. Otherwise, you are encouraging properties to be left idle, lacking improvements, so they can stay within the protection of the pre-existing nonconformities. The fact that compliance with the front setback would be impossible based on the location of the existing structure should make approval of this request fairly straightforward. Thank you, John Sarino, 234 Spear Street. And then a Janet Schmidt also wrote in a correspondence saying that good morning, in reference to the construction of the new porch on 233 Lucy Street, we are in full support of the demolition of the existing porch and portion of the existing dwelling requiring a dimensional variance reducing the front setback. We reside at 240 Lucy and have been residents for 25 years. We were friends with a longtime former residents, this SMUNTNE, the Smuntini family, and now are delighted with the current improvements made by our friends, John Meyer family. We are in full support of this project and request the Zoning Board of Appeals approve it promptly. We are in Florida, but are happy to add any further comments as needed. Provided phone number. Please confirm your receipt of this letter. Thank you, Janet and Fred Schmidt. Okay, I believe those was all the correspondence we had, right?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay, that takes care of that. So we have no more, I believe, participate as far as public comments or I'm sorry, any comments on the application. So that time I'd like to close the public portion to the application and hearing and go to our own deliberation and discuss the information that we have in front of us between us. So here we are.
Just one comment. When I looked at the original drawings in the package, I couldn't tell from the drawing where the setback was measured from because it showed Lucy Street directly in front. And I confirmed with Ryan, who went to the survey, that the setback is measured from the property line, not from the edge of the street, which is what's required. So it's the survey shows the right of way, it shows the property line, and it shows the setback from the property line as we are required to consider. I also went through and double checked the lot coverage, looking at all the buildings as provided on the survey, and my number came up exactly with what was shown on there at 26.5%. So we don't have a lot coverage issue here with the porch and the house and the other buildings.
Okay.
So it based on my analysis, the only issue facing us is the setback for the porch.
Yeah, I think that's good. Good to know that it is from the lot line, the way it should be. And these are well illustrated, really clear correspondence, which is very nice to show the existing compared to the changes. New porch. And also nice to have all the different information where they're showing the current and the new setback changes. So, I guess as Ryan's comment early on was in general, they're looking for a 14-foot. 14-foot something, I wrote it down. Where'd that go, Ryan?
Reduction.
To reduce the setback to 5 feet 3 inches, which would be a reduction of 14 feet and 9 inches.
But they're looking for 14.9 variance. Way I always look at it. Right?
Yeah, 14.7.
14.7. Yeah, 14.7 down here.
We asked for 20 foot minus 14 feet 9 inches would be.
It's a 20-foot, 20-foot is a required front yard setback,
Yes.
right? And you're 5. 5.3. 5.3. So a 14-foot, 7-inch variance.
And the current variance is 8. I mean, if it was it was built before it would. That
Yeah. Okay. Well, is there any, I know we've had, well, in the past, this particular street, had a couple things come up before. Generally, the Historic Society has supported the views, maintaining, some variances with these views, so I know the historic area, actually, we had one a number of years ago. I don't recall which one it is, but it's got to be one of the newer ones. I'm going to put it at, I don't know, 15 years ago. The person tore down the house, was building a new house and said, I'll meet the setback if you want. And the Historic Society said, no, you should keep it in line. And he said, well, I'll do whatever you guys want, but if you want it, you're gonna have to come in for a variance. So they came to us, and based on the Historic's recommendation, you know, and the guy didn't care. So he would have conformed, but variance there. There isn't an in-line thing there now. Everything stands on its own precedence, and I stand that way. And one of the things that you want to make sure that we're conscientious about is that if we do provide a variance, it goes with the exact, you know, the way this is presented to us, the way that house is built or anything like that. So should someone ever come in and tear this house down and want to rebuild again, we'd have to go through that. If they completely excavate, it'd have to, you know, go through a variance if they didn't want to meet the setbacks already. So in my general background knowledge, I'm just going to say, knowing how the standards run, we need to go through the standards and make sure that how we feel about the way they read and how they relate to this particular situation. But there is some reasonings for this variance being granted in general. I don't know if anybody else has any other opinions on it.
I agree.
I've been through the neighborhood and it seems entirely consistent with the neighborhood and
Yeah.
in keeping with the character of the town and the neighborhood and the master plan to conserve Saugatuck and its character.
Mhm.
So I would agree.
Right, well, then I guess what I'd like to do is go through the variances with our provided sheet that we've been handed, you know,
Mhm.
and see, find our findings of fact, how it relates to each one and go ahead. If we don't have any more questions for the applicant, or you guys don't have any more concerns or questions
I'm
prior to
satisfied.
that, you're okay?
Mhm.
All three, both of you,
Mhm.
all three of us?
Yep.
Okay. Well, Jim, how about if you start with, we'll go through the standards. If you might want to start with number 1, that'd be wonderful.
Okay, that strict compliance with area setbacks, frontage, height, bulk, or density would unreasonably prevent the owner from using the property for a permitted purpose or would render conformity unnecessarily burdensome. I agree with the comments here. Strict compliance would not prevent the applicant from using the property as it can be maintained as a non-conforming structure and expanded in different directions in compliance with the ordinance. However, the existing front porch is non-conforming, and the reconstruction project will result in the structure becoming less non-conforming with the front setback requirement. Based on the historic building placement, compliance could be considered, and in my opinion, is considered unnecessarily burdensome if there's to be a front porch on this house. So a compliant front porch improvement is not possible. So I feel that compliance is unnecessarily burdensome in this case so that they can have a front porch on their house in keeping with the character of the neighborhood and the character of the town. So I believe the standard is met.
Any,
I agree.
I would agree with that. I think that's well stated. All right. Kate, take number 2.
Sure. That a variance would do substantial justice to the owner as well as other property owners in the district, or whether a lesser relaxation will give substantial relief and be more consistent with justice for others.
Good discussion.
Still on?
Yeah.
I would like that.
You did it.
Yeah.
Nicely done, Ryan.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
where was I? So,
Responding to the second.
so, yes, so a variance would do substantial justice to the owner as well as other property owners in the district, or whether a lesser relaxation would give substantial relief and be more consistent with justice to others. The comment we have here is that the project would result in a lesser nonconformity and an overall improvement to the dwelling that has already been approved by the Historic District Commission. The addition is minor in nature, which could be considered when assessing justice and fairness to neighboring property owners. I would agree with that assessment.
Me also, I would support that.
I do as well, and the neighbors seem to support it as well.
Yep.
Based on the comments we have.
All right, I'll take number 3, that the plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances of the property and not to general neighborhood conditions. So, well, we have a home that was put there in the late 1800s, mid 1800s. And the property is unique in a way that actually the whole block is pretty much in nonconformity through that whole front yard. Let's say setback of days of old. So I feel that the circumstances or, of the property are not due to, are due. They are due to general neighborhood conditions, but the general neighborhood conditions, definitely would allow for this to retain and maintain the variance asked for at this, on this application. So. How about number 4, Jim?
That the problem is not self-created or based on personal financial circumstances. The applicant did not build the original structure in its current location. The home was built in 1864, long before the zoning ordinances were in place. Additionally, the variance request has no relationship to project cost, but does in fact lessen a non-conforming situation and improve a historic structure, which is a part of the master plan for Saugatuck for maintaining these historic structures to maintain the character of the community. So it's according to the master plan, important that we maintain these historic structures, and I believe this standard is met. It is not based, it is not self-created and not based on personal financial circumstances.
I agree.
Correct. Agree with that. So, especially when they're making it in general more conforming, so to speak, so.
All right.
Okay, well, I believe that, you know, our review of the standards, finds that it meets, that it does, meet those standards for request of the 14-foot 7-inch variance, from 20 feet.
Well, I do want to clarify, just to make sure, because he thought we're looking to have a setback of 5'3", which would be a reduction of, my math is correct, 14'9" when you combine those two numbers. Would be 20 foot.
Oh, I'm wrong, you're right.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we get you exactly,
14.9 then, right, yeah,
You are.
that's the reduction of 14'9", but
right,
yeah, to get-
yeah, 5'3" setback, 14.9, yeah, okay. So anyway, based on those findings, do one of you guys feel comfortable with making a motion to approve that, the motion, or to approve the standards?
I move to approve the application to reduce the front setback to 5 feet 3 inches instead of the minimum 20-foot setback. A reduction of 14 feet and 9 inches for a replacement porch at 233 Lucy Street. Approval of the front setback variance is conditioned upon consistency with the porch building footprint shown within the application materials. And I don't know if we want the motion to also reference using the basis of the comment, using the comments in this report as a basis for the ZBA's positive findings and referencing them in their entirety.
I believe we do. Any other comments that we need to make? We referenced the dimension.
Mhm.
And then it goes with the, with the plan that have been submitted to us here. There any other things anyone can think of that relate to the motion before we ask for I'm sorry, a second?
Well, I'll second the motion.
Okay, all right, Jim, we have a second? And I would say we go for vote.
All right, Mr. Chair, Bauk,
Yes,
Poland,
Yes,
and Chair Kabajak.
Yes,
All right, motion carries.
all right.
Thanks.
good luck. It looks great.
The application-
Plans look great.
With regards to Mr. Prince's comment, okay,
Up to the chair, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think there was some confusion with a couple neighbors who didn't comment, but in reading the notice, I think the assumption was, and I had two people ask me the same question, you're building 5 feet from the street, and I said, no, it's 5 feet from the building line. So I think Mike's comments are based on that, and I'll talk to him about it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he thinks the tech's gonna be all the way out on Lucy Street.
okay.
Yeah, I got the impression they thought it was something new too, not replacing the existing porch. Yeah,
Yeah, that's all right,
Thank you very much.
okay. Good clarity.
it was,
All right.
it was a nice package. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nicely done package.
thank you. This guy's here every month.
Yes.
That's it.
Make it a lot easier.
thanks.
Yeah, you make it a lot easier for us, so. All right, under new business, our item C is to review the 2023 meeting schedule and discuss start times. Our packet has included the dates of second Thursday of the months, right?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
And so I don't know that if anybody has any comments on any reason why the second Thursday of each month shouldn't be continue to be our scheduled meetings, unless there's some city type of interference that's changed over time that you know of, Ryan?
No, there's not an interference with this particular meeting date, correct?
Okay. Well, things change.
Mhm.
It's worth asking. So on a, and as we go through this, so there's a question, as it has been submitted for these dates, it's also set for a 7 PM time. The question I believe was raised, is there, city council is reviewing whether to change their start time to 6 or 6:30 instead of 7. And I guess at this time, they haven't made any determinations. Is that correct? Whether they're changing?
Yeah, that's correct, Mr. Chair. They've elected to kind of conduct a survey of the community to gather some feedback on whether folks have a preference on changing the time. So far, the survey results have been mixed. About 40% of the community was supportive of keeping the time at 7 PM. About 38% was supportive of a change to 6 PM, and then the remainder were kind of right in the middle at 6:30. So they're still kind of conducting their survey, but wanted to raise it with the zoning board of appeals to see if you had any preference on changing your meeting time. Your bylaws don't mention a specific start time.
Can I ask why council was considering changing the time? Is it for staff or just everybody's convenience, or did they?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of factors. One was, how late, staff are here on those evenings was a
Right.
consideration. I think they were also taking into consideration some of the technological changes that have been made. All the meetings are streamed on Zoom now, and more accessible in that way. And then there was some question about whether or not, 7 was too late for other folks. So kind of bringing it up hasn't really maybe been discussed in a significant period of time. So they just kind of wanted to take
Right.
a look at it.
Yeah, I would believe that the original way of thinking would be that if someone works till, let's see, the 8 to 5 day, and by the time they get home and
Yeah, absolutely.
catch a bite to eat and they want to come to a meeting, it's, if you get home at 5:30 or whatever time that might be, at best, maybe,
Yeah,
and then you got to get and go. So whether it's 6:30 or 7, if there's a time slot, 6 be pretty early for someone who works and wants to attend a meeting.
Mhm.
So I don't, I don't have a real opinion per se. If I was to make my opinion, I think 6 is too early, but that's my opinion that, but
I think 6 is too early because I understand the staff situation,
yeah, that's,
but at the same time, these are public meetings. And we want to make it possible to have as much public participation and observation or whatever the public would care to do at these meetings. So there's a big part of the public has a day job.
Mhm.
And so we want to give them the ability to get home without having to leave work early or rush home and to be able to participate or see or observe the meeting. At the same time, we want to encourage people to apply for these positions on these committees and these boards. And we want to accommodate the people that have jobs because we're going to need younger people coming into these
yes.
boards. And I don't have a problem with 7 o'clock. It lets us get through dinner or whatever it is we're going to do and then come and have our meeting.
yeah. Well.
I certainly wouldn't want to change the time until we see what council's doing.
Yeah,
And I don't know if the city shouldn't consider all the meetings starting at the same time.
it would seem.
I don't know that it's
it
isn't going to be
seemed to be a
confusing
mess
if
if you-
council starts at 6 and we start. at
Yeah,
7.
everybody has a different starting
I
time.
don't know, maybe that's not that
To
confusing.
me, that sounds
But
confusing.
I'd like to hear what the survey results are and
Yeah.
for council to say.
But yeah, I think it'd be confusing for. No, these guys are at this time, they're that nobody knows who's on first, second, and third.
Right.
It is nice to know if usually the planning commission or the council or the zoning board has a general time that they have their meetings and people get used to that. But
Unless there aren't that many people that attend all the meetings, I mean, maybe I'm looking at it from a point of view of those of us who are paying more attention, but at any event, I'd be curious. That's my 2 cents. I'd want to hear what the survey results were and what the council decides to do before we make a decision.
I'd recommend that, my recommendation might be for tonight's meeting to approve, if we were to approve our schedule as presented by dates and time at 7.
Mhm.
And if it was to be if there was a change in council and planning, if we feel after survey or whatever that we may be open to 6:30, but we're not very leaning at 6 at all, and not against 7 o'clock as it's standard, as it's set today, so. That we could move along at this and keep it the way it is unless some other. I guess 2 out of 3 ought to win somewhere eventually. You know, you gotta have a majority or something. I'm not sure how you end up, who, the council probably makes the final decision on their time, but I believe it's good. I would recommend we all start at the same time. But I don't know what that all,
Well,
that's not a must, but it
it-
just.
I would think we can approve it as we're looking at it right here, and if we
Yeah,
need to
change
amend
it
it in
later.
the future, we can do that.
Yeah,
No, I totally respect that. And I think if there's going to be a change in the future to the time, I know there may be some extra steps that we have to go through and the city attorney is on the line and can touch on that. I will note, the Historic District Commission does meet at 6. They changed their meeting time sometime back, well before I started. Our Parks and Public Works Committee actually meets at 9 in the morning. So there are other boards and commissions of the city that do meet at different times. But I totally am not disagreeing with any of the comments that you've made or any of your analysis. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, it's good. And I can sympathize with staff not wanting to stay till 9 at night.
understand.
But-
Well, then,
So we'll approve this for now and
yeah, I'll make a motion that I'll start a motion that we approve the 2023 ZBA agenda for the Board of Appeals scheduled as presented the second Thursday of the month starting at 7 PM at this time. Maybe the time it could be adjusted if further discussions allow.
you make a motion.
Pardon?
Was that a motion?
That was a motion.
Okay, support.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Just
Meant to be
checking,
a motion.
just checking.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We'll go for a vote.
Do we need a roll call or can we do a voice
I
vote?
think a voice vote's fine. Yep. Whatever your preference is, Mr. Chair.
Oh, let's go for vote.
Okay, Bauk,
Yes.
all right, McPolin,
Yes.
and Kabajiak.
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
Formal. Wow, all right. All right, we're down to item number 7, which is communications. Which we had included the report of the 2022 ZBA activity. Which is, we are required to supposedly review that in our January meeting, set the agenda, set the board, and also just make sure that there's a report of the prior year. And Ryan has submitted that to us. Ryan, my only question on that was, it showed and maybe for 640, 650 Lake, it showed it as 7, the month of the 7th month, not the 11th month. Is that because of when they applied?
Yeah, they're all listed by their application
They-
date.
They changed it, or because it didn't show up on the month that it happened. So,
Yeah, the report pulled by application date, so when they actually submitted their application, so that's why you see the July 20th, that was when they
Okay.
actually submitted their application,
yeah,
initial application, I should say.
yeah, okay.
Dates.
Because it didn't correspond in the date with the Butler Street one, 525 Butler.
Right,
I think, I can't find my paper, but there was like something like five approved and 4 denied or something like that.
5, 6
Three-
approved. 1, 2. 3 denied, I guess. One of those
Three,
was
okay.
withdrawn. Oh,
Six-
dimensional variances were denied. Yeah, so 3 denied.
Okay. Well, on that comment, we do have some unusual properties in this community
We do.
versus other. So it's probably not unusual for a zoning board of situation of our community to have a few approved compared to other averages, which are more denied probably than approved, but.
Mr. Chair, if I could, One other item I want to tell you about, if that's okay.
Sure.
Explain to the planning commission what was their kind of idea, and I apologize, I put
Oh, I
a
remember
separate
that.
item on your agenda, but I wanted to make sure and touch on it tonight because the signs have actually been made. But the planning commission asked that staff take a look at additional ways that the community could be notified of upcoming at least public hearings. And so other communities have used signage outside of properties to do that. So we kind of looked at some other examples. And we actually had some A-frames that the city clerk already uses for elections that are very sturdy and can stand up to weather and wind and those types of conditions. And so took measurements and worked with a sign company and some prior examples and came up with this. We have 3 of these that essentially would be placed out on the city's property outside of a property that is subject to an upcoming public hearing. The idea is that they would go out, typically when the packet goes out to the community, we would put this sign out. So typically about a week ahead of time. That way, once the community goes to the website or if they scan the QR code to go to the website, then they actually have some information to take a look at. So this is not meant to certainly circumvent or bypass any requirements that the state law has as far as newspaper notices or notifying folks by mail. That is all still occurring. We're still sending out email blasts as well, but this is just an extra tool that we have that will utilize to kind of notify folks of upcoming public hearings, including ZBA public hearings.
I think it's a great idea. It makes it clear what the property is, because some of these places, like the one on Van Dalsen that we looked at, some of them are pretty hard to figure out which house it is.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, would it make sense to put it out when the article is published in the paper? Rather than waiting until a week before?
Yeah, and we could do that. The challenge with that is that because your meetings and the planning commission meetings are back to back, we can run into some confusion, and I may not have enough signs. And I could certainly, like, the public hearing notice goes out and somebody doesn't have a packet that they could go to the website and grab it. I guess it would be the same thought that they could still get a copy of the application and information at City Hall. But the thought was with just ease of moving them around and how we have back-to-back meetings and not confuse folks, because the QR code is general to the website. We couldn't, because we're using these for ZBA and planning commission, we couldn't send directly to just a planning commission page or just a ZBA page. And so we wanted to avoid some confusion. So the thought was at least just that week before, it's a big, bright, and that's typically when folks tend to get more engaged anyways, kind of towards the end when they can actually see the full packet, staff analysis, and then kind of provide comments from there.
Okay.
It's also really big. I don't know if I would want that in front of my house for 30 days. Just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate why we're doing it, but
Well,
Okay.
I think a week's, I understand their situation with sitting there for 3 weeks, you got to give 30 days notice and things change and all that. So a week would be a plenty. It is nice sometimes for people who don't realize something's going on, don't read the paper, are outside the 300-foot barrier, and may have interest of what's going on. And I guess I don't disagree with the size, but I think it's worth trying. I think it'd be worth trying and see what kind of public comment end up coming good or bad out of it eventually. I think it's one of those, hey, I think it ought to be worth trying and see where it goes. Could always not do it.
and a week, if you are within the 300 feet or if you're close enough to the property that you have a
Yeah.
vested interest, you will definitely, I would think you'd see the sign within a week unless you're out of town or whatever.
So I think it's good public awareness and good public sharing of trying to get people involved and understand we're not trying to hide things. So
Who's going to put the sign out and to pick it up?
Yours truly for the most part, unless I'm not available, then our trusty clerk staff have told me that they will help me out. So
And then I have confidence it'll be done right. So good.
well, I think you have the board's general support of the idea of trying it. So,
thank you, Chair.
all right. Let's see. Was there anything else under communications that we have? Do you know what?
Not this evening, Mr. Chair.
That's it for you?
Yep.
All right, number 8, any ZBA comments? Jim, I think you had.
Yes,
something
sir.
to bring.
I've got like 4 thoughts. Number one, I appreciate our legal counsel being online. It's comforting to know that you guys are there. Thank you. Number 2, Ryan, this report, I love it. Nice job. It shows us what's going on. It shows us the latest status. And it makes it public and it contributes to transparency, which is something we haven't had and to me is very important.
Okay, thank
So,
you.
Thank you. Keep it up. Number 3, I just noticed this tonight, Ryan. When people speak at these meetings, we ask them to tell us where they live.
Mhm.
For example, this is the first time I've seen it, but Mr. Prince's letter doesn't identify where he lives.
Okay.
Could we ask the people who provide written comments to notify us where they live? Are they a resident? Are they somebody from Chicago who's just got a passing interest, or what is it? So that we know where they live. I'd like to apply the same standard to written comments that we have for people in the audience.
Okay.
No, that said, my 4th idea was really my first one, and that's training for ZBA members, which could be expanded to planning commission and even city council as well, zoning training. When I first joined the ZBA, I was very unclear about what's involved and the importance of these activities. And we had a training session that we went to that was put on by an attorney. I don't know, it was in where the heck it even was. It was 20 miles away. But that was an attorney who specializes in zoning, has spent his entire career in zoning. His daughter was working in the practice now. And it was very helpful for me to understand the importance and the criticality of the decisions that are made in these meetings and the consequences, both intended and unintended, that we can have. And I think I've done a little bit of research online. There are many communities that have training either allowed or mandatory. And some of them have a mandatory training within your first year, and then like 3 or 4 hours or some amount of continuing education that's required. And I don't know what would be best. I don't think it's best if everybody goes out and finds whatever training they want. I think we need something uniform. And I think it's important that we do some sort of standardized training, at least for the ZBA. And what I would ask is, Ryan, at our next meeting, whenever that is, I'm assuming I don't want to wait 3 or 4 months, but at our next meeting or some convenient time in between, that you recommend to us what we could do and what we could incorporate into our bylaws and what's consistent with what the city would want us to do as well. And to me, it's not a matter of whether I pay for citizen planner training or whatever. I'm not opposed to paying for it myself. If I have to, I will, but I would like to see us all have some sort of uniform training. Because these decisions can have, as we've learned well, huge consequences, both intended and unintended, from making these decisions. So it's,
I think the city will pay for a certain amount of training each year, won't they? I've gone to citizen,
Because they have,
to
yeah,
municipal,
they have in the past, yeah.
Michigan Municipal League, planning and zoning training. And I believe it was paid for. We went with Cindy and several other members of the planning commission.
Yeah.
But my 2 cents would be, I'd love to do something specific for our ZBA. I mean, if we could have council or somebody do a brief training session.
Means
and
like
maybe
Chris Patterson do a
example.
seminar or something like that.
But I mean, to talk about the, some of the
You
unique,
certainly can.
issues we face here. Because I have been to planning and zoning classes and they're very helpful, but of course, they're more general and I'd be curious to hear,
I
and
found-
maybe if, the mayor or the chair or whomever spoke about maybe Saugatuck's philosophy towards and some of the unique challenges we face in terms of the consequences of our decisions,
Yeah, I think it'd be, I found a
which might be a lot
pamphlet
to
from
ask.
many years ago that our existing attorneys had put together just kind of a review of dimensional and use variances and how the zoning board works and things like that. And I believe that some type of refresher and pay attention to these kind of things, whatever the details would be from like Chris or something like that, would be a good session for us to have a review and have an update to get started. I believe it would be, and I'm sure there's boilerplate things. You're going through trainings and things, you know, maybe it's a 103 program, not a 101, but as we do bring in any new members that really don't have planning commission or zoning backgrounds and they are getting started, it's always important to make sure they get into the 101 program somewhere, be it online or be it go to a municipal league or something, but Michigan State has stuff. So anyway, I think it'd be good to have if we had even a time where there wasn't a true application and we did a general meeting and had a little bit of an hour and a half of training, it'd be great, at least to start with.
Okay.
Can you look at what you think would be appropriate and?
Yep, I've heard the majority of the ZBA here indicate that you'd like me to explore some training opportunities. We can certainly do that. And I've heard that sounds like you have an interest in maybe hearing from our city attorney on some of these items. So I'll circle back to our city manager and city attorney on that. And I know I've talked with the city manager and he's indicated that any of the ZBA or planning commission members that have an interest in taking the citizen planner course through MSU extension, that's an option. That does cover some ZBA matters, but I can understand that you would want something, maybe a little more drilled down to ZBA issues. So we'll take a look and report back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right. Any other comments on the ZBA? Okay. Public comment? Our public is gone. And I believe our online is, do you have any comments online, public? Okay, then we'll adjourn.
So,
We did it under an hour.
All right.
well done.
All right.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
But